Saturday, Watkins Glen qualifying. It's over. Who's on pole? The guy we all predicted ahead of the weekend? Not a chance. Alexander Rossi. Congratulations on your first career IndyCar pole. Robin, what did you think?
Well, I thought he's been really fast for the last 6 or 7 races. And it was just a matter, I think it was just a matter of time before he wins a race. And now he's won his first pole. But to beat Scott Dixon for the pole at this place is a hell of an accomplishment.
How surprised was Dixon, who was on pole as the clock went to 0, but Rossi was still on track. It's kind of one of those counting the eggs before they've hatched scenarios. You're like, Dixon, he's been kicking everybody's butt all weekend. Of course he's on pole. No, Alexander Rossi. How surprised was Dix? He didn't seem to be too pleased with one Elio Castroneves.
I think, look, as good as he is here, he's won 4 times already. But I think the thing that's interesting about Dixon is the first turn will be so interesting tomorrow. But what's good about this kind of qualifying is, man, it's better than some of the races.
Yeah.
The way every lap that changes, the top 6 change every lap, and just, I think Honda has been strong all weekend, and we've seen in the past Chevrolet jumps up and bites them in qualifying. But today Honda held on for the front row.
What else surprised you in qualifying? There were some surprises.
I just thought I expected Pagenaud and Power to be higher than they ended up. Newgarden's on a roll. That kid's driving so well. Charlie Kimball's first Fast 6, he did a hell of a job. Sato did another good job. I mean, it's just interesting to me, the mix in the field, and to think, Graham Rahal had been in the top 3 every session, and he ended up, I think, 10th or 9th or something. So it was one of those deals where Sebastian Bourdais dazzled people because he put his car in the Fast 12 on black tires.
And he said he's still not feeling right physically, not at 100%, not just fitness and, the cardio level that these guys get to, but just not feeling all the way there. So if Seb almost makes the Fast 12 and he still isn't feeling right, that tells you that, that guy is pretty darn amazing. What about Carlos Munoz in 11th? I mean, we've seen the Foyt cars go well on ovals. Connor Daly obviously did great with 5th place last weekend at Gateway, but we really haven't had much of a reason to talk about the Foyt cars in the Fast 12 until Carlos got in, and Connor Daly almost made it too.
He missed it by 1,000th of a second or something like that, so Foyt had almost 2 cars in the top 12. Huge improvements, and they've been pretty quick all weekend. So I think it's just this amazing mix, and when you throw this into the mix, folks, there's a 100% chance of rain tomorrow. And I saw Bourdais a little while ago who goes, please make it rain, because he's so good in the rain.
And that's another great thing of what I hope is coming tomorrow. Scott Dixon in the rain. Absolutely nuts. I mean, that guy's just on a different planet. Rossi said he cannot wait. His last pole came in the rain. You look up and down the field, especially the title contenders, the people who really have something to either win or lose, almost all of them are monsters in the rain. What'll be interesting, though, is we're talking about Power and Pagenaud. Power 8th. That guy's a nut in the rain, but would have a little ways to go. Pagenaud down in 12th. A, no one expected that, and B, Simon, rally driver, very experienced in adverse conditions, but midfield, if we're having a wet start,
he's chomping at the bit that it's a wet race too. Way to talk, Robin. He's chomping at the bit that it's going to be 100% chance of rain when the green flag drops, because that's his best opportunity.
Spencer Pigot, I believe, matched his best road course qualifying in 13th. Again, 13th might not sound like a whole lot to celebrate, considering his teammate.
Missed it by.
Yeah, considering his teammate Jerry Hildebrand, I believe, is starting last. Again, all you can do, if your team isn't vying for the pole, all you can really do is look at where your teammate is and try and judge, a kid's performance by that. And at least within the Carpenter camp, we can say that Spencer starred today. And then if we're talking more looking within the camp, Hinch said he didn't have any grip. They made a ton of changes. The car just didn't respond. He wasn't happy to qualify 16th. You look at his teammate, first-time road course starter Jack Harvey, starting 18th. Pretty impressive for that kid too.
Well, Jack Harvey, I mean, he did such a good job in Lights. He did a good job in Europe. He's just been biding his time, hoping he gets a chance. Sam Schmidt's given him a chance the last 2 races, and I don't think it's going to surprise people. I think he's going to be pretty racy. I know he's another guy that probably grew up in the rain in England. I think he'd probably welcome a nice rain shower, but 100% chance of rain, brother. That's 100% chance of chaos. And the one guy in this whole field that doesn't want to see it rain?
Me?
Joseph Newgarden.
Joseph Newgarden, sorry. If we're looking elsewhere in the paddock, what's going on this weekend? We have all 3 levels of the Mazda Road to Indy. One of those championships was settled today. If we're looking at the top of the Road to Indy, Indy Lights qualifying, young Hertamania, Colton Herta on pole, said his car was very nice. Little concerned about tire degradation, but I think that'll be something that everybody has to deal with. And that's if it's dry for the Lights race, which kicks off around 11 a.m. Eastern. If it's dry, degradation concerns. If it's wet, who knows?
Have at it.
That title is essentially decided, though. All Kyle Kaiser has to do is start the race,
right,
and he is getting that $1 million advancement prize. On the Pro Mazda level, we still have a title to decide. Brazil's Victor Franzoni won today, the first of the 2 rounds. I don't want to say he has to win tomorrow, but all he has to do is run well, and he should be able to come away with that title. Young Oliver Askew, though, USF 2000, the kid that a lot of IndyCar team owners are excited about, clinched his title today, Robin. You've had a chance to talk with him. He's been racing cars for how long? 1 year.
1 year. So that pretty much establishes him right now as somebody to keep an eye on, because when you jump from, you've never been in a car before, there's been a few stories like that through the years, but this is the latest one. He's, I tell you what, I think the owners are paying attention. I hope they are.
We're trying to make them.
Well, you do a good job of that. Every 10th person here this weekend has come to me and said, hey, I know why Michael hasn't filled that 4th seat yet. He's waiting on Alonso. Alonso's going to be the 4th driver next year for Andretti. Did you read this man's story this week with his quote from Zach Brown, the quote of the year so far? And he basically said,
fake news. Granted, I mean, that's Fred's current boss. Fred's a free agent at the end of the year, so Alonso could do whatever he wants. I mean,
right,
there's nothing stopping him from coming to IndyCar. At least the guy who currently employs him, who's been talking about continuing to employ him, seems to think that there's nothing to that. So would we love to see him? Good
Sure.
Lord, that would be the best thing that's happened to IndyCar in many years. But does it sound like it might be more of a 2019 thing? Again, at least going off of what his current employer says, that's what it sounds like. Not necessarily next year, sometime in the future, probably.
And Zach's told you, Marshall, a couple times, he does want to run the Indy 500
Yeah.
again. We just don't know when. Chris Medlin, who covers Formula One for RACER.com, said he gave it a 20% chance a month ago, and I think that's probably accurate.
We also have some other developments. I mean, here we've got 2 races left in the season. A lot of people to talk to, see what they're talking about. Trevor Carlin caught up with him today, said he is more optimistic than ever. Things are closer than they've ever been to get Carlin Racing into IndyCar. They're currently trying to get a engine supply deal sorted out. While he and I were talking, and he identified one of the issues that he was having there. Someone from an engine manufacturer that he needed to speak to happened to come by. Those 2 exchanged numbers, so that was good.
Yeah,
so
you body blocked him. You knocked him to the pavement.
I'm wide, I can do those things.
It was awesome.
So that was good. Spoke with Hinch. We'll have a story there tomorrow on timeline for him announcing his plans and what he's been doing behind the scenes to try and engineer who will be his teammate. We spoke with Felipe Nasr. Good guy, got to know him a couple years ago when he came over and ran at the 24 Hours of Daytona. He's here looking at things, guest of Elio Castro Neves, and that guy was pretty darn quick when Sauber was doing okay in Formula One. Love to see that cat too. So we're at that place in the season, a couple weeks left, where for those who want to be here, they know they need to come out, talk, try and do deals. This is the fun stuff.
Well, and it is, and it's been fun for a month chasing all these rumors down, and I think Charlie Kimball said after he made the Fast Six today, I interviewed him on NBC, on NBC. Charlie Six.
Charlie Symbol. Charlie Symbol. He's a new drummer for the Ganassi 5. So.
Charlie Kimball said after qualifying today, he said, hey, man, he goes, I got a good sponsor for next year. I still have a sponsor. I just haven't had a place to land yet. And you just see the different, there's a lot of different people out there. I mean, Gutierrez, I think he's going to end up somewhere, because if these guys are going to Mexico City next year to race, they better have him on the roster. People are still, I think Ed Carpenter still wants to see Sage Karam in this series full-time, just like we do.
Ed Carpenter, the guy where the 2 of them weren't very good friends a couple years ago.
Tells you a lot.
Tells you.
But Sage Karam is Paul Tracy. I just don't understand these guys. Look at this kid. He's Paul Tracy. Sure, he made a couple of mistakes. Big deal. He had a couple of monster races, too. He's got that edge and that attitude. So I hope he's in somebody's gun sights. But then Zach Veach, you've documented some of his stuff. and all the Indy Lights guys that you've talked to in the last couple of weeks. So I just wish we had a few more car owners, because I think we could have 30 cars next year.
So you and I need to start Miller and Pruett Motorsports?
No, Fanner needs to cash in a couple of those gold bullion bars and have a team.
RACER's
a RACER car.
8-car IndyCar team, and you send us ideas on Twitter and Facebook who should be in those cars. Tell us how much we should pay them. We're good.
Well, let's start out with 2 cars, because we don't want to. Paul's got 2 daughters; they got to go to college.
True.
But I think possibly a 2-car effort. You can be the engineer on one, and I will be the pit board guy. Do they still have pit board guys?
Well, you did ask Bob Rahal yesterday if you could be Takuma Sato's pit board guy.
He about swallowed his breakfast.
We almost had to get out the defibrillator to bring Bob back to life on that one. All right, Miller. Well,
that's it.
You've been coughing up a storm. We need to go.
Speaking of storms, 100% chance of rain.
100%.
Watch the race tomorrow, then read racer.com. He writes more stories in a week than some people write in a lifetime. He works hard.
Half of them are spelled correctly, too.
Yes, they are.
All
Good
right.
job, buddy.
We're done.